How many photos do you take? Now, the reason why I asked this question is because I was watching a YouTube video the other day, well-known YouTuber, talking about the fact that he takes over 1,500, 3,000 photos a shoot, then has to go through the editing process, and that of course takes hours. I know when I had my Sony, I'd have it in burst mode and I'd take thousands of photos and then have to spend hours in Lightroom going through them, trawling through them, finding the photos that I wanted. Since moving to my X100VI, however, though, I do certainly take a lot less photos. I don't know why, but I only shoot in single focus instead of burst. I don't know why I've done this. Maybe it's because some of the Fujifilm recipes you can't use burst mode, so I just use single anyway. But I do find myself taking a lot less photos, maybe 500 to 1,000 max. However, that is still quite a lot. So based off that video and based off my own experiences, I thought it'd be really fun to do a little challenge. I've already taken, how many photos have I taken? 11 photos, and for those old enough to remember using film cameras, you used to get about 36 photos per roll of film. So that's what I'm doing today. I'm going to take 36 photos max, JPEGs. I'm not going to edit them at all. We're going to review them afterwards when I'm in the office, and then I'm going to print my 3 best ones off, because of course when you were doing film photography you'd want to be printing them out anyway to review them and go through them, and that's how you viewed them, not like we do nowadays where it's through Instagram or wherever it might be. So I thought it might be a fun little challenge. Hopefully you guys enjoy, and we're going to go through and take some photos, and yeah, it's going to be really interesting to limit myself to 36. Like I said, I've already taken 11, so I'm not doing too well. We've only been out about an hour, so yeah, we'll see how we get on. We haven't been out an hour, but it doesn't really matter. I did want to quickly preference by saying I'm just going to be using the one Fujifilm recipe, and that is Cine Still. I'll have it in the description. You can check it out and try it for yourselves. I'm using that one today because it's nice and sunny, and it'll give that sort of golden look to everything, which hopefully will come across in the photos. I'm only using one because whilst I've got 7 I can be flicking through, if I was doing this with a film camera I wouldn't be able to just flick through them. So to try and stay true to that, I'll just be using the one, and yeah, that's also an interesting challenge because normally I change them depending on what the scene looks like, so I'll have to be using my other settings within the camera to get the shot spot on. So I've just taken a photo there, or a couple of photos. I'll probably pop up there that you'll have seen. And I think the interesting thing about doing a challenge like this, how there was a shot there of a gate that I would normally take. Now, would I then like it probably when I got back? Probably not, but I quite like taking photos like that. The photo that I just took there, where you saw the video beforehand, I don't actually think I maybe like that photo so far. I might feel differently when I get back in the office, but it's just not really, and now I feel a bit gutted that I've taken that photo and I've got one less photo I can take. So it definitely makes you think. You definitely have to compose the shot. You're thinking about lighting a lot more. So you're thinking a lot more as a photographer, because you're not thinking, oh, I can fix that in post, because I'm not going to be doing that. So yeah, it's weird not to be thinking about it so much, I guess, and not just think, oh, I'll take the photo anyway, and then if I like it, I like it, and if I don't, I don't. And it makes me think how, you know, obviously back in the day, you'd have to take how many rolls of film with you to make sure you had enough. So we are certainly blessed now not to have to deal with that, if you don't want to, of course. But yeah, I'm having to be so much more intentional with the shot I take and how I take it, and not being so carefree. But maybe the photos I end up taking, there'll be more I like because of that. So I guess we'll see. I think what I am finding actually is that I'm doing a lot more framing of shots, but not actually taking them, because then I'm looking through the back screen or the viewfinder and I'm actually liking the photo, or I'm second guessing the photo. So there's certainly a lot more of that going on, and I guess maybe missed shots. But then the photo that I do actually take, I am maybe being more pleased with it, because like I said, I think I'm down to like 18 photos now. So I'm more pleased with those photos rather than having 50 or 100 photos. and still only being pleased with 18 of them. So are the pictures better that I'm taking, or am I just not taking the ones that I wouldn't have liked anyway? That's kind of the question that I have to ask myself here. But I'm enjoying it so far. It's definitely interesting. I'm definitely thinking so much more about it and not just taking photos of everything. So hey everyone, so we are back in the office, obviously, as you can see, and I've had a day to review over the photos that I took. Now I'm gonna get something out of the way. I did actually take less photos than 36. I'll put it down to a combination of the fact that I was doing the challenge super well and being conservative, and the fact that I'm rubbish at counting. So without talking about that, how do I feel about the process? Because whilst it's going to be good to review some of the photos and we'll review my 3 favorites, I wanted to talk about how I feel about the process and was it worth doing? Was it a good challenge for you guys to maybe try out for yourselves? So firstly, what surprised me about the challenge? I think maybe how having that mindset of taking less photos, like I said, I didn't take 36 photos in the end, and I feel like I certainly would have if I was not doing that challenge, that I took so many less photos. I mean, I had a gigabyte's worth of data to download when normally I've got way more than that. And it was really surprising. And in a good way, I enjoyed the process. It's been easy to review the photos. I was able to enjoy the walk more, experience more of my surroundings. And sometimes, especially when you're not a professional photographer, you do need to balance taking photos and enjoying the experience or maybe where you are, especially if you're there for the first time. I'm going to Madeira very soon and I want to enjoy the process as well as enjoying the culture and everything else, because it's a holiday. This isn't a photography trip. So I need to balance those both out. So with that said, the challenge, yeah, it was fantastic. And I think I'll certainly be more conscious going forwards. I think framing is a huge thing, composition, and then judging the lighting. If I judge those 3 things first and well enough, I only need to maybe take 1 or 2 photos of the same scene. I don't need to keep taking 5, 10, 15 photos in the hopes that I'll get one right. I can just compose before, maybe take about 30 seconds extra, and then that really should help take a better photo and take less photos. So that'll be something that I might build into my workflow and obviously let you know how I get on with that. So what about in the moment? How did it feel to not be able to overshoot, limiting myself? It definitely was limiting. Like I said, during the video when I was out and about, there were scenes that I wanted to take photographs of, or just things that I wanted to take photographs of, because as photographers, that's what we like to do, just take photos of things and hope that some of them other people like the look of. So that was maybe a bit annoying, but of course this is a challenge. This is something that I haven't got to stick to. I think not being able to change film recipes was a big thing. I like to change them as I'm going, not all the time, but maybe 10 to 50 shots in, I'll change them depending on weather. You know, you might be more sun coming over, might be more overcast, whatever it might be. Maybe it goes into the evening. All these types of things impact on the film recipe I use, because that's what they're for. They're to change the scene and the look. So that was maybe a bit annoying. I'm quite happy with the Cine Still Fujifilm recipe. However, I think I might tweak it or maybe look for another one, because I really want a warm richness to my photos. So if you've got one that you use, please do let me know, as I'd like to try one when I go into Madeira. Were there any photos that I missed because I was being hesitant and the fact that I knew that I only had 36 photos to take? It's silly now in reflection, given the fact that I didn't take 36 photos, I took 32. However, yes, I am disappointed that there were a few photos that I didn't take that I'd like to have taken, just to keep for personal reasons, not share them, but just to have taken them. And I think, again, in the future, I might limit myself, maybe try and keep it under 100 photos, 200 photos, whatever that might be, but definitely limit myself less than I did. Would I do this challenge again? I think absolutely. I think I would rather do it in a more interesting landscape. Where I went, it was Belton Park, just outside of Grantham. It's an interesting place, and I didn't go to Belton Park because you have to pay to park, and we weren't looking to do that, so I went to Belton Tower, which you've seen quite a few photos of. And yes, it was an interesting landscape. And again, I think if I was just taking more photos there, or if I was doing some portrait photography, it'd be a great place to do that. but the overall landscape didn't really change much, didn't really go into any villages and things like that, so didn't get that opportunity to take more interesting structures. It is just fields and sheep and animals, which can be interesting, but they were too far away, and I do shoot with a 50mm equivalent, so I didn't really have a chance, and I didn't want to waste any shots trying to get shots that I knew weren't really going to be worth it. So I think going forward, filming in cities or more dramatic landscapes will certainly be better for this challenge. So I'm definitely going to give it another go, see how well this video does, and maybe I'll try it again. And did this whole process help me become more intentional? Absolutely. I mean, the fact that I had to think about every shot, and I was counting them, poorly counting them, but I was counting them, made me feel so intentional about what I was shooting, and made me feel so much more part of the process. And now reviewing the photos, I know every photo that I took and why I took it, which I think is an invaluable thing. I didn't take 1,500 photos and go, oh yeah, why was I taking a photo of that? I know why I was and what I was looking to achieve. And maybe if I wasn't shooting JPEGs and I was shooting RAWs, I know what I was trying to get out of the image, so I could maybe look at tweaking it slightly, cropping, things like that, changing the colors just slightly. I only slightly edit my photos anyway, because that's half of the reason of having film recipes. But overall, yes, it did help me improve my photography. So let's talk about the 3 photos that I'm going to be printing off. They're going to be going in my book, my album, and that's how I'll be completing the process and completing this video. So let's go through them now. So starting off here, we've actually got an image of the doorway to Belton Tower. I think if I'd have taken a few more photos, I could have nailed it a little bit better. And I think this would have been a fantastic black and white photo because of the harsh contrast you've got between the shadow and the light. However, I do love this red door. And again, if I was shooting in RAW, I'd maybe bring that out a bit more and tweak a few things. As you can see from my Lightroom, I haven't tweaked any of the settings. This is how it came out of camera, and this is how I'll be posting it for the purposes of this video. But yeah, I absolutely love it. Again, some portrait photography here would be absolutely fantastic, but I was again being precious of how many shots I had. So again, I might come back to this location on a similar day and see if I can get a few more photos that I might be happier with. Next photo, again, of the tower. I think because it was such an iconic thing in the area and really stood out during the walk that I went on, it was hard not to take more photos of it. I did have to step back a bit from this one. So apart from, of course, having to step away a bit, to keep the fact that I could keep the mist filter on the camera. I just absolutely love this photo. I love how vertical, how tall it looks. It really looks quite imposing over the landscape. I think if I could have got a few more shots maybe showing how high it was against the landscape, that'd have been quite cool. But again, I was trying to limit myself, so I wasn't trying to take too many photos. I just managed to get the top of the tower in there without clipping it off. And again, I just love how you've got the shadow and then the contrast of the highlights there. So again, absolutely fantastic. Love this image. Now, the last image on my list that I'll be printing off is this one. I think it would have been impossible for me to not take a photo of a gate. Again, I absolutely love the rawness of this photo. It was an absolutely beautiful house and a beautiful driveway. And of course, there wasn't too many houses along the route that I was walking along, so I was keen to try and get a few if I could. I've even got a slight action shot of a bird. Not too sure what bird it might be. Hopefully it's a bit more interesting than a pigeon, but I've got that in the background. Again, if I was editing this, I'd have probably made the shadows darker and tried to sort of boost the highlights a bit, but I really like that I've got this foreground here just of these trees, so you get a perspective of where I'm standing, and again your eye is really drawn to that gate and then beyond over the rolling hills that obviously Lincolnshire is really well known for. And that's it, so that's the challenge over. I've printed off the photos as you can see here, and I'm really happy with them. It's a great process to go through, and like I said, I think this challenge has been fantastic to really stretch my creativity. It was really challenging, and I'm going to do more challenges like this to make me a better photographer, because I don't feel this was my best work ever. More challenges like this will just make me a better photographer, and that's what it's really all about. I really hope you've enjoyed this video, enjoyed this challenge, and please try it out for yourselves. I'd be really interested to know how you get along if you do the challenge. Do you complete it? Do you get 36 photos? Do you not? Do you go over? What happens? I'd be really interested to know. I think the next time you'll be seeing me, I'll be on holiday, so we'll see if I make a video or two whilst I'm out there. But yeah, thank you everyone. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.